Hi Sarah, welcome to the CSI podcast. It's really awesome to get this side put aside and have a really good chat with you. Sarah's going to be discussing everything business wise and how she got into this industry, all the kind of woes and the experiences behind it. Because the business side, we're creative people, and the business side is things that we just push to one side. To be fair. And even things like charging our worth and our hourly rate. And I know that like you had helped me with that. And see, when I actually did that, I looked at it and I thought, wow, I've been losing money forever, and it was an eye opener for me. So if you just give yourself a wee introduction, Sarah, that'd be awesome.
Yeah, so thank you very much for having me to start off with. I'm really grateful for this opportunity, so that's lovely. So my name is Sarah Dixon, for anyone that doesn't know me. I am predominantly a hairdresser, and I specialise in cutting and styling hair. I gave up colour a few years ago, and we'll probably go into that, why that happened later on in our chat. So I was, up until the last week or so, a salon owner. I've had a salon in the Lake District in the north of the UK for nearly 14 years. And yeah, during the pandemic, I actually sold my business to go in a slightly different direction. Yeah, so it's really exciting.
Yeah, I know. So I was going to ask you, how's the pandemic been for you then?
It's actually been a blessing in disguise. I don't know if or if anybody else is feeling like that, but it's really, really given me the time to sit down and assess what I want going forward. It's been a good experience. Don't get me wrong. I've been at home on my own all day, every day for the last year, near enough. I don't have any children, and my husband has been working full time, so we're really grateful for that. That's been amazing. But yeah, I've been at home on my own, so it's quite it's been a long slog, hasn't it?
Yeah.
But yeah, it has given me the time to work and understand what I want from my business going forward, and to be able to sort of do the handover of the sale of the business as well. And to be honest, I'm not quite sure how that would have happened if we weren't in a lockdown. There's been so much work to actually do that. I don't know how we would have done it if we didn't have this time. So yeah, I'm quite grateful for lockdown.
Do you think if there had been no lockdown that you would have even thought about selling the business?
Yeah, so yeah, I've had this quite a few times. So the first things, because obviously we've sold during lockdown and during COVID, people automatically think that it's to do with that we sold the business. But I actually I started the process of wanting to sell my business about 4 years ago. So it was obviously way before COVID, well, before we even knew what that meant. And and it's just by chance that it's happened within this COVID lockdown. So yeah, definitely I would have still sold my business if it had not been for COVID.
Yeah. Have you thought about it for you? Wow, 4 years in the process, that's a long time.
Yeah.
Long time.
It was really critical, that as well, because 4 years ago I didn't have a business that was saleable. I didn't have something that was saleable. I actually tried to put it on the market to be sold, just through like an estate agent.
Yeah.
And I had multiple people come and view my business. From the outside, my business was really desirable. It looked great. It was turning over a good profit, all of the things. It ticked all of the boxes. However, I was too crucial to that business. I was the problem. People were like, oh, but what if you do this? Or, well, what's your role going to be in it going forward? And if I was taken away from my business at that moment in time, there wasn't a business that would stand on its own 2 feet. I was everything. I was the most money in the till. I was organising everything. Everything was like in my head and in nobody else's head. So it took 4 years to actually change that and get it so it was a business where I could walk out of it and it would remain the same.
See, that I think that's the main factor, though, and people don't think about it from that point of view. Because in this industry, if we're fully booked behind the chair, then we're awesome at what we do. And that's the mentality that we have sometimes, and we don't realise that the business is more viable if you're not behind the chair and you can, and it's easy. And I was the same, like when we had, I work on my own now and like from a home salon, but when we had staff working with us, I found that I was working double the hours they were to actually pay them, which was it was difficult to digest. So what made you think about selling the business? How did that all come about then?
So should we go back to the beginning and then it'll make
Go
more
for it.
sense?
Yeah.
So I'll say 14 years, nearly 14 years ago, I was 21, I think. Yeah, 21. And I'd been working in a salon. I'd gone to uni from school and I'd been working in the salon for about 2 years. I was on minimum wage, no commission structure.
Yeah.
I'd had great training. My boss was fantastic, but there was just no future or better opportunities basically from that business. So I was like 21 years old. What should I do? And I literally Googled hairdressers for sale near me.
Okay, right.
And just down the road, literally like 3 miles down the road from me, popped up this salon, and it was for sale for, I think it was like £10,000 or something. It was for sale for. Anyway, so we decided, I went off with my mum and we decided to go and view this salon with the thought of purchasing it. At the time, my grandpa had just passed away, and he'd left me £5,000 in his will. So I got this money, and when we went to view this salon, it was like a shambles. The guy had been running it. There was no proper accounts. It was just, it was some chairs and a little bit of colour on a shelf, and it wasn't worth even £10,000. So I basically managed to buy this salon with this money that my grandpa had left me. So sort of 6 weeks later, did a bit of painting and decorating, and there you go. I was a salon owner. I'd only been on the shop floor for about a year at this point. But I was 21, and I thought that like I was a really good hairdresser and I could do better than my boss. Yeah. And that was it. And I was going to run a hair salon.
You find that though, that all hairdressers get into running their own salon because they're great at hairdressing.
Yeah. Not
that I'm awesome at what I do and I can run my own business, and as you say, I'm going to be better than my boss. Yeah.
And I made all the now what I see as obvious mistakes. Like I went round it's sort of like a small market town, large village type of place where we're at.
Yeah.
And I made some of the obvious mistakes. So I went round and I collected up the price lists from everybody else in the village.
Mm-hmm.
And I set my prices through that.
Yeah.
Problem being, obviously, going forward, they probably did the same thing like 10 years ago. They probably went round and got some price lists, and everybody's priced on basically no knowledge. We've just all plucked this price out of thin air. So that was probably mistake number one. Mistake number two would be that I thought and was led to believe that to make something successful, you had to give it your all. Yeah. And at that time, give it my all was work behind my chair for 50, 60 hours a week, every week, to put as much money in a till as I possibly could, because you never know when it's going to run out. You never know when your luck's going to run out, and there might not be those people next week. So every week it was like, keep going, keep going, keep going, keep going. So yeah, problem number two. So this
all sounds so familiar.
So I was underpricing, number one.
Yep.
And number two, I was overworking.
All the hours God sends. Yep.
Yeah. So I then went on to start to employ some team members. So at this point, when I took the salon over, there was only me and one person working part-time. So fast forward like 5 or 6 years, and there was about 6 of us working, and it was quite a small space, and it was on the first floor was the salon, so you had to come up a spiral staircase. It wasn't ideal, and we'd sort of outgrown it really.
Yes.
So I one day, just really randomly, so again it was a bit of a spur of the moment thing, a lady came in for a blow dry. Never met her before, and she sat in my chair, and she was just lucky that I was free, last half an hour of the day. And I thought, I'll just squeeze her in. It's another extra, probably about a tenner at that time.
Yeah.
And she sat in my chair and she said, "Oh, like, you've got a lovely salon, but you seem really busy. Have you ever thought about moving premises?" And I was like, "What? What are you on about?" And this lady had just bought a building just across the road from where we were, and she was intending on turning it into flats, but she'd not been able to get planning permission to turn it into flats, so she was selling this building. So here we go again.
Okay.
So we fast forward 6 months, and we'd renovated basically a 3-story office block into a 3-story hair and beauty salon that I now own.
Okay.
And we moved. Yeah.
So you own the building as well?
Yeah.
Oh my God, Sarah! You don't do anything in halves, do you?
No. So at this moment in time, we've got my mum and dad to thank for that, because they dug deep and invested a significant amount of money into that building to help me do it up. I'd managed to save enough money through working a 60-hour week to pay for the deposit and all of that sort of stuff. But yeah, they put their hands in their pocket and gave me some of my inheritance early. And we did the salon up. So that was about...
That alone is pressure, major pressure. Because then you're like, okay, I'm doing 60 hours an hour, I'm going to have to do 80 now because I've got my mum and dad to pay back. Yeah.
Exactly. So that was about 8 years ago. So we just continued in that pattern, really. So we'd not addressed pricing, really. We'd done the odd little price increase here and there, but we'd not really addressed pricing. My team started to grow. We'd gone up to, I think it was about 10 of us at this point. And one day, one of my team members came to me and said, "Sarah, I want a pay rise." And I was like, I'm not making enough money. Like, at the time, I wasn't getting paid enough for the amount of work and effort and stress that I was doing. And I always used to think, oh, if I was doing this for somebody else, would I accept this as a salary? And I was like, absolutely no way. I'd want like double, if not a bit more, and a company car.
To follow through, definitely.
Like, I wasn't making enough money. And I explained this to her, and I said, look, I would love to pay you more. I was like, you deserve to be paid more, but I also deserve to be paid more. And to pay you more, that's me getting paid less. Unless we can do something to generate more money.
Yeah.
We knew that we couldn't do, well, at the time, we thought that we couldn't do a significant price increase because we would price ourselves way above anybody else in the area.
Yeah.
So I put that to one side. He was like, what else can we do? And at the time, self-employment wasn't really a thing. Like, in our area, there wasn't a huge amount of self-employed hairdressers or self-employed. And after a few weeks, this girl came back to me. She said, "You know what, Sarah, I've been doing some research, and I've really liked the idea of being self-employed." She was like, "I can then charge what I want to charge. I can offer the services that I want to offer, and I can come and go, not necessarily as she pleased. She didn't she could have a holiday when she wanted a holiday, and if she wanted to take it in December, she could take it in December." And anyway, so massive, massive scary change. We actually offered that up to the whole team, and every single person in my team decided to become self-employed.
Right. Yeah.
So that was like really scary, because that's never ever been the business model that I
thought about. Yeah.
Thought of. No, it was never something that, you know, I didn't really have a comparison either. Like, in the area, I couldn't go, oh, well, there's that salon, they're doing really well in that model. There was nothing like that round us.
Yeah. And it's completely different as well when it comes to the legalities as well, isn't it? Because, like, if somebody's working in your business self-employed, you can't make them come to team meetings, you can't make them educate, you can't make them do, because they are their own business within your business. So there's loads of that as well. So going from what you knew to something completely different must have been like really scary.
And it was all about my mindset. That was the stumbling block, because I'd got this mindset of like, oh, why doesn't someone want to train and be better? Like, what's wrong with these people? Like, do you know, like, I literally, like, I must have said that in my head so many times, like, what is wrong with these people?
Yeah. My mum used to say that to me as well, because I would be the same. It's like, why don't they want to go and educate? What is the problem? Why do they moan about it all the time? And my mum turned around and said to me once, she was like, look, at the end of the day, if they had the same mindset as you and wanted to educate, they would all be having their own salons. I'm like, yeah, that's correct. Yeah.
And I think it's just accepting that everybody is so different. So everybody's goals for life are really, really different. I have always been, I want to learn something new and challenge myself. Sometimes it's a problem. Sometimes I'm literally on to the next thing before I finish the last thing. Like, my brain is like whirring all the time. But some people don't want that. Some people's goals in life are to be an amazing parent, for instance, but they need to work to be able to live. So, you know, for some people, a job is literally a 9 to 5 to put money in the till, and that's okay.
Yeah.
Not everybody has to be me.
Yeah.
And that was what I had to change. I had to change my mindset and understand that everybody that was working within my 4-salon walls, each of those people were totally individual and totally independent. And I had to accept that not everybody was like me. That would be really bad if they were.
I wouldn't say that was a bad thing. Definitely not. So they all became self-employed.
Yeah.
You got your head around that.
Yeah, so they all became self-employed. Over the years since then, we've changed the model. We've discovered new laws and regulations and all the rest of it, to today, where, well, a few weeks ago, where we were following like self-employment to the absolute T. Do you know, like every single thing that constitutes a self-employed person, we do and support in our salon. So they have to take their own payments, their own bookings, deal with complaints. They have to provide their own equipment, their own clothes to wear, their own training, accountants, bookkeeping, all of that stuff.
Yeah.
It sounds to some people like, why on earth would somebody want to be self-employed if they have to do all that stuff?
Yeah.
But for my team, and if one of them was sat here now talking to you, it would be all the positives, the flexibility. So they can choose on a Thursday to finish at 3 so they can go and pick their daughter up. They can have from the 23rd of December off till the 4th of January and just have it off. They can, do you see where I'm coming from? They can do the services that they want to do. They don't like perming, so they don't have to do perming. You know, they don't like doing this type of, you know, I've got one girl, for instance, who she had maternity right in the middle of balayage becoming a thing.
Okay.
Yeah, so she missed like a whole year of that era.
Yeah.
She doesn't do balayage. She says, do you know what? I'm not interested. She said, I love highlighting. I love doing my colours, and I do 2 days a week. I've got enough clients. I don't need the nightmare of balayage. So I'm just not going to do it. And that's what they love about it.
Yeah, that is it. I know, and I found that as well, going from running a salon to having just the home salon now. The freedom to kind of come and go, and that was my thing with the kids when they came in from school. You know, there was the work-life balance there. You could take time off to go and see their Christmas nativity play. Thank God they're in high school in 4th year now, and I don't have to sit through one of them again. But you could do those kind of things. Whereas my older son, he's 25. I missed all that.
Yeah.
You know, because I couldn't go because I had to work, and that's all there was about it. But yeah, the flexibility is a massive thing, isn't it?
I think the really nice thing, though, going forward with the industry as a whole, and it's what I'm seeing, is that actually I think employed models and self-employed models are starting to meet in the middle. I think, like, if I now had an employed salon I wouldn't be putting the restrictions on my team that I did when they were originally employed.
Yeah.
Like, nobody wants to work every Saturday, and I wouldn't
Yeah.
enforce that. Nobody wants to work 3 late nights a week, and I wouldn't enforce that. So I think actually, even if I had employees, I think it would run very similar. I think it would have to be that way, because the world has just changed, hasn't it? We're not in this sort of rat race world anymore. People want a life. They want to work and live and not
Exactly.
work.
Yeah.
So,
There's so many people want to work from home now. And I think that like the home salon and the self-employed thing is going to just explode. I think in 4 years' time, I'd say probably 90% of hairdressing is going to be that self-employed idea, because people are going to have had so much time at home that they want to run their lives more productively for them, you know, and their family life and their home life. And even the younger ones, you know, I mean, who wants to work to 9 o'clock on a Friday night? They want to go to the pub, you know, so just being able to juggle that a little bit better. So then you went from getting all of that all sorted, built up that model, and then decided to sell.
yeah. So
Okay.
so about 4 or 5 years ago, I'd got to a point then where it was on the market, like a traditional sell your business type of estate agent.
Yeah.
It was on with them, and it was absolutely pointless. Like, it was a waste of money, and it just didn't help me in any way, shape, or form. And like I said before, I had numerous people come and view it, and mainly investors, so people that wanted to buy a business to just make them money.
Yeah.
And like I say, when they realised that I was so crucial and detrimental to the success of the business, it was like, no, not interested. And that's it. And that happened probably about 5 or 6 times. It was soul destroying, because every time it's a bit like when someone comes to view your house when you're selling it, you think, this is the one, oh my god, and then it's like, no, back to square one. And that happened. I think I got even one part where the people had like really started all the paperwork and everything and then pulled out. So yeah, it was awful. So at this point, I then felt so trapped. It was awful. Like, I'd had 4 years where I wanted to sell my business. Oh, not 4 years, sorry, a couple of years where I'd wanted to sell my business. All these people had kept coming and then saying, actually, you're the problem. You are the one that is stopping this business selling. And I wanted it to sell, but I was the problem. And it's like, oh, what are you meant to do? And it was really, really bad. And I ended up, I would say I had a nervous breakdown. That's what I would call it. I had a nervous breakdown. I started with feeling really anxious. So I started with anxiety, which for me was just not on my radar. It wasn't something that I'd ever suffered with. I'm an extremely confident person. I'd never even considered, and my friends even said, like, oh, you're not the type of person to get anxiety. Obviously, looking back now, I know that statement is just so wrong in so many ways, but I was that person that was just always okay. And I started to feel really anxious around certain topics, and it wasn't really the sale, it was anything to do with work. And I started to feel really anxious about people having allergic reactions to colour. Yeah, never had that happen to me, but some reason, and I don't know why, it became this like obsession, and it was making me ill. Like, literally every single time I put a colour on somebody, I was like in the back thinking, oh God, what if are they okay? Or, you know, if I change the colour, like for like days afterwards thinking, oh, what if they ring up? And it was awful. And there was no reason why it just attached itself to that. I think anxiety is one of those things. It's not always rational.
No,
and I know that it wasn't rational. And we were obviously following all the skin testing procedures and all that to an absolute T. So it wasn't that I was doing something wrong, and that's why I was feeling anxious. And yeah, it just got to a point where I was just like, I can't do this anymore. I'm working still flat out, absolutely flat out. I've now got a team of 14 people. So I'm working 50 hours behind my chair. I'm trying to run a salon with 15 people in it at weekends and evenings. I'm feeling anxious that every single client's going to die in my chair. That's how it felt. Like,
Yeah.
literally, that's how it felt. And you can laugh, can't you? Looking back, you think,
No.
insane. But
No.
yeah, so and it was just too much. And I got to a point where I was physically like really ill, and my face, I look back on pictures now and my face was awful. I looked really sort of drawn, and I couldn't enjoy myself. Like, I'd go out with friends and I just couldn't find joy in anything. Like, I literally just felt anxious and miserable all the time. So I had, what do they call it, an intervention.
Yeah. I've been there. Mm-hmm.
So I had an intervention. My friends. So at this point, I'd got my best friend, my like all-time best friend, had been friends with her since we were like tiny, and she at this point is now working for me, and she is my manager, and she is not doing hair, so she doesn't do hairdressing at all, and she turns up at my house with another friend who's a freelance two more friends that were freelance hairdressers working for me, and my only employed stylist. And they turn up at my house unannounced on a Sunday, and they said, Sarah, we've decided that you're not coming back to work for a few weeks. And we stayed late on Saturday, and we've actually rearranged all of your clients for the next 3 weeks.
Oh, I've got goosebumps. How beautiful.
Because you need some time off.
Yeah.
They were like, you can't continue with this because you're going to be like really poorly.
Yeah. Burn out.
I had some time off, and it was like literally the best thing that's happened in my life. I had 3 weeks off. And in that 3 weeks, I was like, right, what do I need to do when I go back
to make it different?
Yeah. The first thing that I addressed was the amount of hours that I work. So I was like, I need to manage my business. And I need to manage my business within working hours. And what I was forgetting prior was I was only classing working hours as hours that were behind my chair, not all the other hours that I was working. So if I'd added them up, and I think I did, and it was horrendous, the amount of hours I was working a week was absolutely ludicrous. So I was like, I want to work a 40-hour week, including managing my business.
Yeah.
So that's what I did. So I took out time every single day when I was there. So every day I have an hour in the morning I call it to fight fires. So because in a morning in a salon with 15 people, there's a fire every single morning. Someone's sick, someone's crying about something that's happened at home, someone's in a bad mood about something, you've run out a 6% developer, there's always something in the morning. So that time in the morning was my firefighting time. We also have something that's called like 1-minute meetings. So if I've got something to say, and it's usually those little bad things, like this wasn't done properly, or I need to discuss this with you, we would have minute meetings. So it was literally just like, guys, I need to tell you something, come in here, blah, blah, blah. Brilliant, get on with your day.
Yeah, so just dump for that minute. Yeah.
So we did that.
That's an awesome idea. I like that idea.
And so that was like literally transformed everything. At this time as well, so I'm off work still, and I'm still planning through all of this. So I marked my time out. I was like, okay, but I don't want to take less money. Like, I'm not taking enough as it is. All right, Sarah, so you've got to get your big girl pants on here. So I got my big girl knickers on, pulled them up, and I increased my prices like massively. Like, I think I put like £7 or £8 on a cut and blow dry. I was thinking that people would be annoyed by it, and some of my people would go to somebody else to free me up some time. No, that didn't happen. They all
Yeah.
stayed.
Yeah. We all have that worry, don't we? Because after the first lockdown, and doing my hourly rate, most of mine were like, some of mine were £20.
Yeah.
And I was like that, oh my God, this is, and I would say to Gary, because like Gary works with me in the salon, he does the reception and stuff, and I'd be like that, okay, and I'd write it down, then I'd go, I'm just going to go to the toilet, and I would run away, but I didn't lose anybody.
No. It backfires on you because you're like, oh,
Yeah.
I could have done it more.
Exactly, I know. Oh, brilliant.
So I increased my prices significantly, and that covered the time that I was now running my business, but classing that as work hours.
Yeah.
So I'd also, previous to this, I've always wanted to educate, as you know.
Mm-hmm.
And I have spent quite a few years training in all sorts of different things, and figuring out where my niche is. And at this time, I was like, I want to educate. I want to be able to have time to run my business within normal working hours. What else do I need to do? And this is when I decided to cut out colouring.
Okay.
Yeah. So this was a
Moved
big
down, right? Okay.
So I'm a well and master colour expert. I did that. It's like a degree in colouring. I did all these things. I'm good at colouring. I'm a good colourist.
Go on, you. That's brave. That thought makes me feel physically sick. Yeah.
But I quit. So I quit colour. And I worked obviously really hard with my team. And I had a couple of people in my team that I work very close. I literally work side by side with them. Yeah. And when you work side by side with somebody and you've trained them, if you say something in their head, it means the same thing.
Yeah.
Because I train them, if I say like, oh, I just want you to do, fine scattered highlights through the top, fine scattered highlights means exactly the same in their mind as it does in my mind.
Yeah.
So I had confidence that I could give all my colour clients to these two girls and all would be good in the world. Yeah. And it was, and it worked out really, really well. So this then freed me up. So this then gave me the time to work on my business and not in my business.
Yeah.
It gave me the time to firefight in the morning. And just before my nervous breakdown, I'd applied for a role at GHD.
Oh, let's just add something else in there. Yeah.
So I'd applied for this role at GHD, and it was for, at the time they called them people brand warriors. So we were a team of freelance educators working under GHD, going around the UK into salons, delivering practical training sessions. And I'd applied for this a few weeks before. And so in the middle of this intervention, nervous breakdown, 3 weeks, I got an interview for GHD. Yeah, how ridiculous is that?
Yeah. So I bet you felt really anxious at that as well. That must have took a lot of guts, to be fair, because I know how that feeling is. And to be able to, it would have been easy for you to say, I'm not doing that. That's it. I'm just going to cancel that out. But you went for it anyway, didn't you? Yeah.
So I went for it and I got the role. I was like, what on earth? Like, little old me. I had sort of imposter syndrome at the time, I think. I was like, what? Like, little old me, Sarah from up north. Like, why would anybody want her?
From a tiny village. Yeah.
Yeah. And so, so that was the start of like the new sort of way of working, really. I returned back to work. I was now an educator for GHD. I no longer coloured hair. I was working on my business. I'd upped my prices. My team's prices had gone up as well. We were like on a roll. At this moment in time, we were working on rebranding, and we discovered, this is how I met you. So we worked with Ben Lifton on our social media, and that was absolutely a turning point. It made me not just work on my social media, but it made me understand my business, what its sort of core, what was in its heart, what was like the heart of the business, and what
Yeah.
was blood pumping through its veins, like
Yeah.
what were all those things. And then obviously I could roll that out into my social media. And yeah, that was just a turning point, and sort of really, really understanding that, you know, I could have a business that was saleable. I just needed to make it saleable. Like, I just had to do everything in my power to make it so somebody would want to buy it. And that was really then the journey of the next sort of 3 years up until this point.
Which is quite funny, because when we met through, like, Ben, and I've watched, now that you're actually talking about it, like, it all roll out, because I can remember when you announced in the group that you had cut your hours, when you had done your rebranding, all of those things. So it's been nice to watch that all happening, and the growth. I saw the growth massive. Yeah.
It's been insane.
Yeah.
So it got to a point, and I think, again, going back to people selling their houses, and I think this happens with people. So people have the house and it's a bit tatty. They want a new one.
Yeah.
But know that to get a new one, they have to do the original one up, and they go around and they paint everything. And then people are like, oh, why are you selling your house? It's dead nice. And
Exactly.
it was that sort of situation.
Yeah.
Like, when I actually got my salon to a point where it was saleable, my salon was quite easy.
Yeah. Makes sense.
It's insane.
Mm-hmm.
But I knew that in my heart that I wanted something new. And like I said before, I'm like always striving for more, and I want to learn something. And I feel that I've achieved my goal with the salon. Like, I've done it.
Yeah.
I've taken it from me and one person to a business that was worth something to somebody else to buy.
Yeah.
And so I sold it.
Yeah. And it's awesome, and the growth, as I said, is amazing. And you've took it from not being sellable and nobody wanting it. They were coming to look at it and going, "This looks awesome," but you're behind it. You're the problem. To you fixing that problem, to going through all the woes behind it, and now sold it.
Yeah. So I sold it to one of my team. And I think, again, it was a mindset change. I'd got myself a little bit into a mindset of like, oh, it's still not sold. Like, it's not gonna, don't know what I'm gonna do. Feeling sorry for myself.
Yeah.
And in the first lockdown, I decided that it was going to sell by the end of 2021. I literally was like, it's going to sell by the end of 2021. And if it doesn't, then I'm going to, scarily, I was going to walk away.
Wow.
Because I wanted something different for me. Yeah. And that was what was going to happen.
Yeah.
And I think because I made that like mindset change, and this is how it happened. So this is a bit of a crazy story. So we were in the staff room one day, and we were just having lunch, and there was me, and I think there was 3 other girls in there. And I don't know how we got onto it, but they were on about the future, and like, you know, when you have those conversations, like, where do you see yourself in 15 years time? We were having one of those conversations, and I probably prompted it. And they said to me, well, what about you, Sarah? And I was like, oh, I don't know. I said, I don't know about in 15 years time, but I said, I know this time next year that I won't be a salon owner. And they were like,
yeah, they'd have been shocked.
They knew I was selling it. They knew from 4 years ago that I was selling it, because I've always been very open about that. I didn't want ever it to be a shock to anybody. Yeah. Like, they've known the whole way through. I'm literally like a wear my heart on my sleeve type of girl.
Yeah.
And they were like, what? And I was like, yeah, it was like the easiest thing would be, really, wouldn't it, if just one of you like just bought it. You just like got over your imposter syndrome, not thinking that you were good enough, and you just bought it. And they were like, oh, okay. And that was that. And then 2 days later, one of the girls came back to me, Olivia, and she was like, Sarah, do you know what you were saying the other day? She said, actually, I think I'm ready. And she said, more importantly, she said, I think you're ready.
Yeah.
She said, I considered this when you were having your nervous breakdown 3 years ago.
Yeah.
But she said you were giving it up because you were desperate.
Yeah. Yeah.
She said, now you're giving it up because it's what you want.
Yeah. And you're ready, which
Yeah.
is a difference, which is a massive difference. Because I've not seen anything or heard you saying anything like, oh, my salon, I'm really going to miss it. Or it's all been like jump for joy and that kind of stuff. So you're completely ready.
I'm
Fabulous.
so excited. Like, honestly,
Yeah.
I've not had one single thought where I think, oh God, have I made the wrong decision? This is like 100% the right thing to do for me at this moment in time. And, you know, I'm 37. I've got quite a lot of years left ahead of me.
Absolutely. You're
And
just a baby.
yeah, and it took me 14 years to get my business and achieve my goal. Well, if the next thing takes me 14 years to achieve, then that's brilliant because then I can retire.
Oh, I know. Nice thought. Nice thought. I know, but it just proves so that it's achievable and you're never too old to change paths, you know. So you're now going down that education side of it.
Yeah.
A bit like myself, I've always educated. In fact, I was one of the first like teacher assessors way back, way back. So I've always done that side of it and then kind of come away from it, ran the salons, got back into it again. And now like I'm just like really nerdy about the science side behind colour. That's how when you mentioned giving up colour, it's like, oh, please.
Yeah, but I love watching your videos because I'm like a geek like you.
Yeah.
I
just love it. Yeah.
Yeah. If someone in the salon was to have asked me like, oh, what's the difference between a semi-permanent and a permanent? I'd be like, well, the molecules.
Let me tell you. Yes, brilliant. So is that what you're going to do then? You're going to do all your education side. You've got your salon in the garden as well, haven't you?
I have, yeah. So I never mentioned that, did I? So the garden salon was made pre-nervous breakdown, in preparation for the breakdown. So it was like, I need a space because if I just can't do this anymore, I need a space to work from. And that was built. So it was built about 6 years ago. I've worked from it 1 day a week for about 6 years in secret. So I didn't really like advertise it because it was just for me to have some space on my own. But so I've got my garden studio. So I decided that we were working together, weren't we, developing education just not that long ago.
Yeah.
And I decided that I'd stop for a little bit because I didn't want to do my typical me and like rush into the next thing. And what I wanted to do was I wanted to finish off my story with the salon and Mirror Mirror. And I just wanted to give it like the attention it deserved and like the respect it deserved and finish it off properly. So that's had my 100% attention for the whole of like the last 2 lockdowns, basically. I've just focused on making sure that I hand my baby over basically in the best. I've got a teenager now. But I hand over my teenager salon.
A teenager that's well behaved.
Yeah, in the best possible. Yeah, they've got good manners and they know what they should be doing. And so I had to sort of curb that for a little bit just so I could focus on doing something and finishing it off.
Yeah.
Really properly. And I'm so glad that I did that because it's just, I don't feel stressed. I don't feel worried about the future. I worked on like all sorts of things during lockdown. Like I really looked at like my own personal finances, even planning for like my future and thinking about, retirement and pensions and all of these sort of things. And I got my shit together.
Yeah, no, that's all right. That's fine. That's fine.
Yeah, and it was not just in business. It was like my whole life. I've really, really addressed everything and made sure that going forward now, I'm not almost necessarily reliant on that week to week money, coming in, and I've got other things going on.
Yeah.
So it's really exciting. I'm really lucky because obviously the salon, I owned the building.
Yeah.
And I still do. So I sold the building to, I sold the business to Olivia, but I actually still own the building. So
Yeah.
we've got a rental income coming in from that. And I think we've got three flats as well. So over the last about 5 or 6 years, we've saved and bought buy-to-let property.
Excellent.
So I've got 3 flats and a
Yeah.
salon that I rent out, which allows me then to have a gentler pace of life where I don't have to work 50 hours a week anymore.
Yeah, yeah. You know what? That is the ideal situation, because the having to work and the financial thing is the ball and chain. It's the one, and it stops you from growing, to be sure. Right. So it's been amazing speaking to you, Sarah, but we're just going to wind it up now. Give me one disaster that's happened to you, something that you've done in the salon that not a lot of us hairdressers talk about.
I got sued.
No. Right. Okay.
Yeah, I got sued.
What for?
So, well, I truly believe that I didn't do anything wrong. But back in the day, so I'm talking about 10 years ago, I did a perm on somebody and they claimed that it had damaged their hair. This lady refused to come back into the salon. So now, knowing and learning about the system, you know, I should have had the ability to view it, rectify it,
Yes.
and then somebody can then
they can take it forward.
potentially sue you. But yeah, so she sued me, and you can, if you sue for like under a certain amount of money, insurance companies don't take it to court because it costs them more to challenge
go to court.
And just take the money out. And I then subsequently found out that I wasn't the first person that had been sued by this person.
No.
Yeah. And you know what? That was the start of that was actually the start of my my feeling anxious.
Yeah.
That was one of the things where it started. And that's gone with me through like my whole career, because I think, what am I trying to say? I think you think that all your clients are maybe friends, and that you can trust people. And I trusted this lady, and she was a really, really good client, and I trusted her. And something went slightly wrong, and that was it. You know, and it turned like that, and it was really, really bad. And gosh, anyone that knows me, I'm not ashamed of this situation at all, because I'm a good hairdresser. I'm a good hairdresser, and I'm a really kind person. Like, I want everybody to be fit and healthy, and hair health is like my main, absolutely like, main thing. But yeah, and it was probably the worst thing that's happened to me, but actually one of the best things that's happened to me as well. The learning curve that I got from that was just unbelievable. And that lady like has molded me to be the person that I am today.
Absolutely. And I've seen that happening on not so much the last lockdown, but this lockdown, on the skin testing side of it. And I think it's, as you say, that lady, you weren't the first person that she had taken down that road. And people are looking at the no win, no fee situations. And apparently you get more money for getting an allergic reaction than you do for whiplash in a car accident, you know? So everybody started to panic about the skin testing. Nothing's changed with the skin testing. Follow the manufacturer's instructions. Watch your, like, communicate with your colour house about it 48 hours beforehand. Make sure you do everybody, you know, and it's just exactly the same as what it was beforehand. But we all started to panic. But I think that's a good thing, because it's kind of kicked the industry into people that maybe have relaxed a little bit, or maybe not doing it correctly, have sorted themselves out, you know? So it's kind of kicked us in. But
I think because of this situation, like, I've always been so, you know, like, unbelievably careful with skin testing, strand testing, recording everything down. So actually, when this new skin test, I say new skin testing, I was the same as you. Nothing's changed. I was like, what's everyone going on about? Like, this is no
Yep.
different. But because we were already doing those things, we were skin testing. We're with Weller, so we were skin testing with every different type of colour that you use. You have to like skin test for the specific shade.
Yeah.
So we're doing that. Like, a lot of our clients were coming for a skin test every time they had a colour, because it was easier. Because if we did that, we could then basically do what we wanted on the day rather than being restricted by an old skin test.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, it was just it really helped me, actually, that situation. Looking back, it was horrendous. Like, I think it was one of the, you know, where you actually think you're going to die because you feel that stressed.
And you're never going to get out of this, and it's never happened to anybody else. It's only happened to you, and all those things going, and the negative nanny sitting on your shoulder just telling you how shit you are. Yeah, exactly.
So, but it's just put in place a really firm understanding for me of procedures, following, you know, instruction and all the rest of it. And actually, in hindsight, going back, if that was to have happened to me now, I would have fought that. I wouldn't have like let that go. I wasn't in the wrong.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway,
in hindsight, that's it.
I think it's a big lesson to be learned, and I think these things can happen to anybody. Like, anybody and everybody can. It can happen to, and there'll be so many people that it has, but they don't dare speak about it because they think it makes them look bad. But it did the opposite for me. And you know, when people found, I actually told my clients, like, I told people what had happened, and you know, it created a stronger sense of community in my salon because my clients were so protective of me. Like, the fierce clients, they were like, this is not right. And it did the opposite. I think it did the opposite, and it was a good, so that was a bad thing.
Well, on that note, I'm going to sign off as well because we're all back up here in Scotland, but I have got a full day of skin testing. That's me. I've got my 15 minutes skin test happening and getting the salon all cleaned up. The kids have started to use it as a garage. They've got their bikes in here, so I need to get that all done as well. So thank you, Sarah. It's been amazing chatting to you. And we were only supposed to be going for 30 minutes. We've done an hour and it doesn't seem like that, but it's been awesome.
I waffle on.
It's been brilliant speaking to you, and I hope to catch up soon. And good luck with all your new ventures.
Yeah.
All right. But we'll all keep in touch anyway. We always do.
Thank you very much. Thank you for asking me. Really, really grateful.
You are welcome. Speak to you soon.
Speak to you soon. Bye-bye.
Bye.